Hey guys, it's Blue. I'm going to show you our deck for Adrian Gecko. So, a new character introduced in Season 3, the Dimension World in GX. He came along with Axel Brody and Jesse Anderson, representing the other dual academies around the world. Adrian's first deck is based on Cloudians. So he uses a Cloudian deck before switching to an Exodia deck when he gets those cards from Ubel. So the one we built, like we had said in that Dexpo video way back when, was we were going to start with Adrian's Cloudian deck. Then once we built it, we'll work on his second deck. So at some point in the future, you can expect to see the Exodia build for him, because now that we have Gozabora, we have another version of Exodia, and we'd like to build Adrian because it'll include a third version of an Exodia deck. But until that time, we're going to have his Cloudian deck, which is still really cool. So a lot of the new decks we have are bringing more archetypes into play. So Axel has the Volcanic archetype, Viper has the Snake archetype, the Venom archetype, and then other characters bring their own themes, like Atticus is bringing the Red Eyes archetype, Hasselberry is bringing the Dinosaurs, not an archetype, but it's a type of monster. So Adrian brings his own new archetype to our lineup. It's the Cloudians. The deck uses ones that he played, so there are still a lot of Cloudian monsters in the archetype that are not featured in this deck. We focus on the ones he played, and the deck overall is fairly simple because there's a lot of duplicates and triplicates, but it has a fun feel to it, being that's a different type of monster that works a little bit differently. So let's go through and see what he has. First off, as you saw, is Cloudian Eye of the Typhoon. So it's his boss Cloudian monster, and it really allows him to help wreck some stuff. Next up, Cloudian Ghost Fog. So useful in combination with Nimbus Man or Diamond Dust Cyclone. Otherwise, on his own, he doesn't do too much. And speaking of, is Nimbus Man. Has a great potential in this deck to really build up a lot of attack points, which also contribute to some of his card effects later on. Cloudian Poison Cloud, contributing a little bit to monster removal. And lastly, Cloudian Sheep Cloud, giving you something to stand on a bit as far as tributes for the bigger monsters, or just some kind of defensive wall. This deck does not have an incredible amount of defensive cards, so this card helps with that. We added in 2 Cloudian Squall, even though it wasn't the card he used, because of its ability to distribute fog counters, which do help with Nimbus Man and Diamond Dust Cyclone. And speaking of, 3 copies of Diamond Dust Cyclone help contribute to his draw power in this deck. Quite a few cards allow him to draw, but some of them are more inconsistent than others. Double Summon's a great way to get more Cloudians on the field, especially with a couple of the tributes in this deck. It helps those as well. Next card is 3 copies of Lucky Cloud. So this is a big reason to have Double Summon, is if you can drop 2 Cloudians of the same name in one turn, you're drawing cards. And in this deck, drawing cards is incredibly helpful in any deck, but definitely this one too, where you have so few key cards. Next up is 1 copy Monster Born. Yeah, crappy copy. To help him a little bit with the monster revival. Again, this deck focuses on so few key monsters. This helps him keep those on the field longer. 2 Pot of Avarice lets you recycle, of course, the Cloudians and then draw more cards. So this deck actually has some of the strongest draw power actually of all our decks. Because next up is everyone's favorite draw card, 2 Pot of Greed. So actually a good portion of this deck is just draw power, because then the rest of it is, more of the meat of the deck to get through, even though it's really the clouds, technically the water vapor, but Up until this point, the cards have been unchanged However, the last three cards are the only cards which have been errated by us to their anime effects, because there's actually some differences between the Cloudians in the anime versus what we have in the TCG OCG. As a matter of fact, the differences are enough that the anime Cloudian archetype actually was a lot stronger. They really nerfed them for the TCG OCG for whatever reasons. So this last spell card is Summon Cloud. The printed version, if you're not familiar with it, it's a continuous spell card either way, but once per turn during your main phase, you can discard a card in your hand, special summon a level 4 or lower Cloudian from your hand or graveyard, only if you control no monsters. If you use this effect, the card is destroyed. In the anime, this was a continuous spell card still, with a continuous effect. So every turn, you had the option to special summon a level 4 lower Cloudian from your hand or graveyard if you controlled no monsters, but you had to discard a card from your hand during the end phase to keep the card alive. And that's the effect we're going with. This way it gives him a more consistent way to summon the monsters, rather than each Summon Cloud being a one-off. Because it's kind of strange, I think, that's a continuous spell card, but you only get the effect once. So, I mean, you could play it and leave it there for a while until you need it, but then you might as well have just kept it in your hand. So, Summon Cloud, anime effect, will be in our erratas document, so you guys can get the formal definition, as well as you guys can have that for anyone who plays our decks with our anime effects. Next up is Natural Disaster. So the card's very similar. It works when a card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard. So unlike Coffin Cellar, it does not count the hand or deck. It has to have been destroyed. So it could be some cards that destroy from the deck or hand. But the biggest difference is that it just said cards had to be destroyed. It never said Cloudian monsters. Ours says when it's Cloudian monsters. And it doesn't even just say destroyed. It has to be destroyed by a card effect. So our card is incredibly selective. Opponent's cards destroyed by the effect of a Cloudian. And this deck lacks several of the Cloudians that actually destroy cards via effects. So this card is being ruled with its anime effect. So every time a card is destroyed of your opponent's, it inflicts 400 damage for that card. So again, we'll see this activate a lot more than just its restrictive Cloudian effect. Otherwise, there'd be almost no point in this deck, because right now it stands as Poison Cloud. And coming in last with another errata again is Rainstorm. So not as different from its anime version as Natural Disaster. However, ours, going by the anime version, is going to play by, you can reduce a Cloudian monster attack by multiples of 1,000, so it kind of sums that part up a little bit more, to destroy an equal number of cards on the field. So now, with ours, you can reduce a monster by up to 3,000 if you wanted to destroy 3 cards. Spells, traps, monsters, whatever you needed. Not limited to just spells and traps. So this helps make the deck a little bit stronger, because without much defense in the deck, this deck packs a better offense to deal with it. And so this is our build for Adrian's deck. We're really happy with it. It's not a bad deck. Cloudians, again, were a little bit better in the anime. We tried to compensate for that. And there's more to the archetype than what we saw Adrian play. But going off of what he played, plus a little bit that we filled in with like Pogreed, Monsterborn, Cloudian Squall, the deck's overall pretty well rounded and works fairly well. And again, his other deck is likely to come sometime down the road. So, see you guys soon. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.